Hello there folks, we're about to build all of these wonderful beginner Hornby railway sets. This isn't a sponsored video, and at the end I'm going to show you this custom railway layout I made, mainly using the things that come in these beginner track packs. Anyway, on to the proper video. So here you can see we've got the beginner's oval here with what would effectively be track pack expansion A with that little side into the right hand side. That is what you'll get with most of the Hornby train sets, and I've done a proper in-depth unboxing and construction and review of that track layout, which I'll leave a link to in the description below. But for now we want to get stuck in with track expansion pack B. So this isn't going to add miles and miles of track or anything crazy like that. This is simply adding half of the inner radius of track from this simple Hornby track mat layout. So here you can see the only really exciting part of the track is that point just to the left there, which is going to act as a junction from the outer to the inner radius. So you can see here, that's the part in red that we're adding. So I'll say for my part, as I've said in my previous video where I did the unboxing and construction of that initial setup, that I am really impressed with how nicely the Hornby track all fits together and what an absolutely beautifully smooth little system and run round the trains can have on it, which is something that I really do. I don't know, it's something that it's just nice to know that it's good quality and it all sits nice and flushly and all just runs in a really smooth, almost hypnotic way. Anyway, as you can see, this is Track Pack Expansion B. We've got Track Pack Expansion A in here, as I say, as part of that initial setup that came with the West Coast Highlander set. And, well, here's your simple junction. So if we reverse the train back now, you'll see just nice and smoothly goes back on to the inner radius. And that's all there is really to say about Track Pack Expansion B. So now we want to get ourselves stuck into Track Expansion Pack C. So with Track Pack C, we're going to complete the inner radius, and we're also going to have to link them together with a little link cable kit, which will provide electric current throughout all of the track. And this is one of the things that I think is good about starting out your Hornby Railway experience by completing this simple track layout, because you get to learn these simple things about how a railway track operates by basically, well, I personally at least would say that it wasn't even something I would have considered had I have just bought a load of track and tried to build a layout from scratch with no experience, that there might be parts of the track that didn't have an electric current and literally weren't able to run a train on. So that's one of the reasons that I'm glad that I set up this initial Hornby track mat layout. My goodness me, sorry, I keep saying track, mat and pack. I haven't got a clue which order those words should be in, but as you can see, this is the simple link wire assembly, and it's nothing major. You can see there's two little grooves just below the rails themselves there on certain sections of the tracks. And the only thing to watch out for here is that you want to make sure you're connecting the correct rail line to the correct rail line on both exterior and interior radiuses. That sounds maybe more complicated the way I just worded it, but believe me, read the instructions, take your time, and you'll figure it out nice and easy, I'm quite sure. So you can see here we've now got our complete inner radius running nicely with electric current going all the way through, and we have got a complete outer radius and also the complete extension of the siding just to the right hand side, which now goes out to a point that would be in an engine shed or something else of your desire if you wanted to complete this layout and build it all as a 3D scene. So on to Track Pack D. With Track Pack D, things are slightly different, as we're not so much adding loads more track as we are adding just the final finishing touches to this basic track layout. So you can see we've got a level crossing that we'll have a closer look at the construction of in just a second, and we've got just a few bits of track here, but because that level crossing is going to be replacing two of the existing straights of the track that's already laid down, we'll use those parts that we take out to extend the straight up to that station on that very inner part of the track. And that's another little thing that I quite like about the efficiency of these track packs, that you don't have bits left over that aren't useful. They're very cunningly and cleverly put together so that you can use different bits to extend extra parts of the track that, well, again, it makes it sound way more complicated than it is the way that I talk about it. So here you have two options. You've got a sort of more modern track level crossing that can have the little light set up so that you've got the barriers that come down across the track and then little lights and sirens and what have you. Or you can have what I personally view as the older, more rural countryside type of level crossing with just the gates that go across the track there. So that's just my personal preference to build it in that way. But you can see once we put it all together, we've got a nice solid track that's all looking very good. I've got to say, I am really pleased that I decided to set up this complete Hornby Railway, as I feel that I learned quite a lot about the general layout and workings of a Hornby track, as not only has it taught me obviously how on earth everything goes together in terms of the basic track layouts, but as I mentioned earlier, how to provide electricity from one part of the track to the next, and also learning exactly what sort of points and junctions we need and how those pieces go together to give different options to how you want to use the trains and how you want them to run around the track. Before we look at the custom layout that I built, I want to just reiterate that I do really like this track mat setup with the first 4 expansions. And I think that as time's passed and I've looked at the more complicated layouts that I've worked on since doing this, I actually appreciate this more and more as an option for beginners to get in and create a layout that's got a lot of junctions, points, and just enough complexity to not have it as just a boring oval, but also not too much that it starts becoming a hassle and adding extra things to learn, as well as taking your first steps into scale modelling. So this was what I ended up building, and this was on, believe it or not, I think 4 by 8 foot board. So this was pretty hefty, and in the end I had to cut 2 foot off the bottom of it because it was just so cumbersome to work around and to move when I decided to move out of this flat. And I ended up actually building a railway at N-gauge scale, which you'll see a link to that somewhere in the video description. If you've not seen my other videos, then you may not be aware I actually moved out of this place back onto a canal boat for the second time in my life. So you'll probably understand why moving down to N-gauge was so appealing to me. And I went on to build a tiny 2 by 4 foot desktop layout at N scale. And it really worked out well, but was incredibly labour intensive. However, now my girlfriend has a very dry loft space with nothing in it. So, well, all of this track has been saved, and my goodness me, am I about to begin a mega project. So please do tune in and check out my future videos for progress on a proper loft layout. I cannot wait. I hope this has been helpful. Keep it interesting, keep it loco-worthy, and of course, my friends, farewell.